Your pension check is already being phased out. The CBO confirmed the fund hits zero by 2032. Argentina's retirees heard the same promises right up until December 2, 2001, when their banks locked the doors overnight. In this video, I'll show you the exact assets that survive a government freeze before your window closes. Let's start with the number they don't put on your statement. The Congressional Budget Office projects Social Security's trust fund runs dry by 2032 if Congress does nothing, and right now, they are doing nothing. Your benefit gets cut by up to 28%. That's $580 a month, gone. Not gradually, not negotiated. Cut, and your 401k. It's sitting inside the same system that's under pressure. Most traditional retirement accounts are invested in U.S. Treasuries and equities, assets directly tied to government solvency and Federal Reserve policy. When the government is broke, those assets don't protect you. They're the exposure. Here's how the trap works. You put your money in a bank or a brokerage account because that felt responsible. But what you actually did was hand legal custody of your assets to an institution. You have a claim on that money. You don't own it outright. That's not a conspiracy. That's contract law. And in a crisis, institutions protect themselves first. Argentina proved this on December 2, 2001. With accounts frozen, withdrawal limits set overnight. By the time ordinary people understood what was happening, 75% of their purchasing power had already been confiscated through forced currency conversion. Now here's what most people miss, and what will cost them everything if they ignore it. The bank closing isn't the biggest threat. It's what happens to your digital assets and brokerage holdings the moment a government declares a financial emergency. I'll show you exactly why that's the trap you need to dismantle in Move 2 of this plan. Before we get to your action plan, understand this: the people who run the system are not sitting in the same position you are, and they are moving right now quietly because of a specific legislative deadline in late 2026 that could fundamentally restructure how retirement accounts are taxed and accessed in this country. We'll get to that trigger at the end of this video, because once you understand what's coming, the moves I'm about to give you will make complete sense. Here's what institutional capital is doing right now. Central banks globally purchased over 1,000 tons of gold in 2023 and accelerated purchases again in 2024. Not paper gold. Physical gold held outside the US dollar system. China, Russia, Poland, India, they are all moving sovereign wealth into hard assets that no Fed decision can devalue overnight. Family offices managing ultra-high net worth portfolios have quietly shifted 15 to 20% of allocations into alternative assets. Farmland, physical commodities, private credit, and assets held in jurisdictions outside their home country. They're not doing this for returns, they're doing it for insulation. What does that tell you? The people with the most to lose are actively reducing their exposure to the exact system you are currently 100% dependent on. That is the signal. Now here is how you act on it. Move 1. Break the custody chain on at least 10% of your wealth. Your first objective is to own something the government cannot freeze with a phone call to your broker. That means physical assets held in your direct possession or in a private vault under your name, not a brokerage account, not an ETF. Physical gold and silver bullion are the entry point, not gold stocks, not a gold fund, metal you can touch. Start with a 5 to 10% allocation. A single 1-ounce gold coin currently holds the purchasing power of roughly $2,600. In Argentina's crisis, citizens who held physical gold outside the banking system preserved their wealth entirely. Those holding pesos in accounts lost everything. Move to the 30-day medical and sustenance physical cash reserve. At this stage in your life, your greatest vulnerability during a bank freeze isn't missing an investment opportunity. It is being unable to buy prescription medication, fuel, or food because the card machines are down. Do not rely on digital infrastructure. Calculate exactly what your household needs to survive for 30 days. Focusing heavily on out-of-pocket, medical supplies and groceries, keep this exact amount in physical, small denomination cash in a fireproof safe at home. If the grid goes down or accounts freeze on a Friday, this physical cash is the only bridge between you and a medical emergency. Move 3. Secure the deed. Eliminate variable debt on your base. Older adults are targeted by inflation because they are on fixed incomes, but the real trap is carrying variable debt into retirement. If you still have a mortgage or home equity line of credit, HELOC, tied to fluctuating interest rates, the bank still owns your base. In a severe liquidity crisis, banks can legally freeze or call in lines of credit. Your priority is to aggressively pay down the debt on your primary residence to secure the physical deed. When you own the land and the structure outright, no banking collapse can leave you homeless. Move 4. Create income streams the government does not control. Dividend-paying assets, private lending arrangements, and real asset income. Rental income from physical property all generate cash flow that exists independent of Social Security's solvency. You do not need to replace your entire pension income overnight. You need to replace enough that a 28% benefit cut does not collapse your monthly budget. Target a minimum of 30% of your monthly income needs covered by non-government sources before 2030. That 3-year runway is not arbitrary. It is calculated. Here is the specific event you need to watch. The Social Security Fairness Act signed into law in January 2025. Expanded benefits to nearly 3.2 million additional recipients, government employees, teachers, and first responders previously excluded from full benefits. This was politically popular. It was also fiscally catastrophic. Independent actuaries now estimate this single piece of legislation accelerated the trust fund depletion timeline by 2 to 3 years, combined with reduced payroll tax inflows driven by a shrinking immigration workforce. The CBO's 2032 depletion estimate is now considered optimistic by many analysts. The real trigger date is the 2026 midterm cycle. Fiscal policy negotiations around Social Security, capital gains tax rates, and retirement account withdrawal rules will all be on the table simultaneously. The outcome of those negotiations will set the financial terms for every retiree in this country for the next 2 decades. That window before those rules crystallize is your window to act. Waiting for the announcement is waiting for the doors to close. Argentina's savers waited too. On December 1, 2001, everything looked fine. By December 3rd, the ATMs had limits and the exits were gone. You now have the framework. Break the custody chain. Protect your digital assets. Restructure your tax exposure. Build income the government cannot cut. The system is not designed to warn you when it's about to change the rules. That warning is not coming from Washington. It is not coming from your bank. Subscribe to this channel because this is where that warning lives. Every week, we track what the institutions are doing before it becomes news you can act on. Hit subscribe now. Your future self is depending on the decision you make in the next 5 seconds.